So, made some changes. Moved stuff here so where my wife used to be. She's over there, and I'm going to put another desk over there. But anyway, so this is what's going on. I got a really good deal. I got a Fractal Design S36 for $50. And not the standard fans. They're using static pressure fans that are approximately 2.4 H2O per mm. And I did a test, and I haven't published the results yet. Hi, G. But the H100i that I have did really bad. I put it in the roof, and it did really bad. 15 degrees worse than the cryo rig. Now I also use Fractal Design's non-static pressure fans. It's also in the roof. So I'm going to do some testing with this, and I'll take a look to see if I want to include those results or not. But I'm going to show you guys how to install it in a really small case. It's a little bit tricky. So in its stock configuration, there's one fan here. Now I've added one here and one here previously. So first thing is there's a dust filter that slides out. I've already done that. But we're going to go ahead and take off this front panel here. I don't have the right angle. There we go. Definitely don't want to break anything. And this actually is perfect height where I can just let that there because it doesn't dangle, it actually rests. Now we should have a screwdriver that doesn't strip. We're going to take all these out real quick. Now the tricky part is going to be getting this in here, because we might actually have to take the graphics card out. I'm actually going to mount it before I take off my CPU cooler, because I don't want to go through all of this and have to remount that if it turns out I don't have to. So, like I said, normally with this case, you would actually only have a center fan and a rear fan. These fans are decent for airflow. They do not add a lot of static pressure. It's about 0.71 H2O per millimeter. And you want at least 1.5 times. You want to be close to 2. 1.75 is usually my minimum for radiator or case fans, so that's my preference. The problem you have to be careful on is, like, for example, the Cooler Master fans that I have used, they do really well at high RPM. At low RPM, they just do okay. They're like 1.5 at lower RPM. High RPM, they start making really weird noises, so get this one out here. And we have one more. And the thing I don't like is he had only used 2 screws per fan. I'm not a fan, no pun intended of that. The reason being is vibration. Anything that moves, I want to have as many mounts as I possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this from the board. So now, I took the fans off and everything. Now we have to make sure that we can get this radiator to fit without making any changes to the configuration. And already, we can't, not with the graphics card in, but it looks like it will clear though. Yeah. Let's go and take the graphics card out. Not my funnest thing to do, but we have to. Okay. Test fit time. She does fit. What I had to do was I had to move the hard drive up. And how you do that is there's actually screws here. I just loosened them, slid it back, and what I'll probably do is once I'm done, I'll loosen them and slide them back up. But it actually does fit. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get the fans mounted, and then I'm going to take this off and we're going to get this installed. Usually. And then that one's good. We're going to find where this lines up here. There we go. In this case, they actually don't twist because this is rubber, but it at least helped me get it started. So I will end up using screws on the corners. In fact, I might have enough screws to kind of redo them all, but at least I can get these bad boys started and going here. So I'm going to grab Another set of these here. And it's very important that on this case you have the cords down here, because we will have clearance in the front, but we won't have clearance to really do a lot of routing if they're not routed the right way. Okay, so again, kind of do the same one here. That one's in. That one's not in. Let's see where this lines up. See what I should have done. Sorry you guys can't see, it's top one next. But now it's going to line up pretty well. Perfect. Now these fans actually have, these are rubber corners, so that actually does help out a lot with getting a good seal. Not really too much to worry about there. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the last one going here. Hopefully I really actually have 48 minutes left on my battery here. That one's good. That one's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to again get screws in the other ones just so they all balance, and then we'll get this cooler removed and this one installed. It's funny to hear my dog growl in the background, but this is actually pretty easy to take off. I will say this, putting on is also easy, just not in the case. So I already broke the other one loose. I'm going to get this one all the way here. Should be really close if it's not already. Leave that in there. There we go. Glad they give you this tool. Now, I actually had one that was missing the plate screw, and that took a while to get in. Wasn't for my system, but this kept it pretty cool though for how small of a form factor this case is, because it's an ATX case, but it's a really small ATX case. So, oh, there we go. It is loose. Apparently, this was, that's right, I didn't unplug this. So that is done. This will be very useful in another upcoming build, most likely. So I'll get you guys a little bit closer, a little bit more of an angle, so you guys can kind of see what I'm working on here. So I'm just removing these screws. So when switching out a cooler, it's very important to note something: the back plate. So what I'm going to do, there we go. I'm again clean off the CPU here in a second. One thing I've learned over the years, and it's been tested recently actually by Steve over at Gamers Nexus, not me, the even better Steve at what he does. And what that is thermal paste application isn't really important. There's basically a point where not enough can cause a problem, and we always used to say less is more, less is more. But it turns out that without being ridiculous, erring on the side of a little bit more is way better than erring on the side of a little bit less. That you could put upwards of over 2 times the amount of thermal paste that you would need normally, and its effect's going to have less than 1 degree. And that's actually pretty interesting. Because, you know, for the longest time we always preach less is more, don't use too much, don't use too much. And then we've basically come to find out, yeah, don't use too much. Just if you're not being ridiculous, you're fine. So using a dot in the middle or a grain of rice is perfectly fine. You don't have to measure it out. You know, you use enough where you can get a pretty good spread across most of it. If you want to be really, you know, specific about it, you can definitely spread it out just to get that even spread. But how processors work, essentially, in fact, a vast majority of the heat's going to be right around the middle. It's really not going to be on the sides. As you see, I cleaned off but I didn't like clean out the sides or anything. That's not really important. It's my rig. If it's a problem, I'll fix it, right? So, not really concerned about it. To be honest, I'm not concerned about it at all. So we're going to go ahead and just do in the middle. Should be fine. And then this is an Asetek cooler. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the bracket that came with it. And let me think about how I want to do this here. I want to have the least amount of tension. Actually, with how Asetek works, I can put this on an angle, it'll be fine. That's actually what I'm going to do, because that feels the best. Here's the caps. Let's say I have Asetek caps if absolute need be. From my H100i, I bought a kit because it uses standard Asetek mounting, and it looks like he actually has more screws in here, so I'm actually going to replace the front screws off camera with just the ones he has, just so we get pretty even. So I already done messed up. It's off center, but yeah, so I do have to unfortunately undo this. And honestly, redoing the thermal paste's not really a big deal. It's really not. So it's just going to be a little bit more twisting than what I was really hoping for, but it's fine. It's important just to get these literally spun down. But like spun, don't like tighten yet. That one I had to tighten a little bit. Same thing with that one. And then, in a cross pattern, don't bring a screw over with you. That's bad. But in a cross pattern, you'll start to get them tightened down a little more. And the reason why you want to do this is you do want to get as even as a spread as possible. Good. And definitely don't over tighten. These actually pretty much have a hard stop. You want good contact, but you definitely don't want to, overdo it. So, actually, we're going to go around this way. So this is the annual pump. We're going to go ahead and attach that. Does this have the ability to route? It comes. Oh wait, I have this looped. So yes, it does have the ability to come all the way around. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the fans set up over here, and then we'll be ready to roll. It is incredibly important to plan everything out, because what I've realized is, I know if I'm cover on here, well, it doesn't fit over the fans. So there's a couple fixes. I could spend money and get lower profile fans. Not sure if that will honestly help, or a different case. And it might be time to retire the Meshify after, oh god, only a very short period of time. But I'm looking at some options, but we're going to give it a quick test and see. I know it's kind of cheating because there's no obstruction, but I'm curious what kind of temps I get. And I have a puppy right here. It's okay. I'm missing a front. So this case does support 360mm radiators. It's not too difficult. However, I would go to say, since my GPU is 310mm, I'm actually probably about -3mm I've been moving around. I would go to say, if your case is probably, so if you have 315 normally, you need at least an extra probably 35. So subtract that from the 315 it supports, I would say probably 280, so another 10, so about 270mm is probably the longest GPU you can get with front-mounted 240, 280, 360 radiators. Because while we do have it in the front here, as you see, I can't get the front on. So we're actually going to take a look at setting up this cooler in a Corsair 275R. That should be here probably about the time that this video goes up, and then we're going to revisit things such as the tower cooler that I have versus something like this versus an H100i, mainly around small form factor. So sorry, I got a dog that's really nubby, but stay tuned. If you like the video, like it, dislike it. If you dislike it, obviously, if you want to buy anything featuring this video, I'll put a link in the description. But as always, this is Steve from PC Budget Solutions, and I'll see you later on down the road.